Good day and welcome to What Stops You from Being Happy at Work live stream. Thanks for joining me in today. We all know that work is a hugely important part of our lives, and that's why our goal should be to make it as enjoyable as possible. I know that it's easier said rather than done, which is why I would like to go through some of the misconceptions which stop you from being happy at work and how to eliminate these stoppers so they won't prevent you from having a healthy and successful career. If we haven't met before, I'm Marat from Emotion, myemotion.com. Look me up on LinkedIn. I've been working in corporate HR and in recruitment for over 14 years, and on this channel I share about which contribute to your professional growth, such as acing your interviews, gaining confidence as a professional, dealing with difficult situations at work, but without giving up your career goals. So please go ahead and say hello in the chat. I'll be saying hello right back very shortly, and feel free to leave me your questions or any comments which I'll respond before the stream is finished. To avoid technical difficulties, my live streams had technical difficulties, and I'd like to double check with you to make sure that everything is working fine. If you hear me well, if you see me well, I'd appreciate a big thumb up, and this way I'm also reassured that there are no issues with the stream. Okay, so as I said, in this video, I'll be sharing some of the barriers that you might need to overcome to become more happy at work and in your career in general, because it doesn't matter if you work, where you work, what kind of role you have, what kind of setting you are working at. Instead of complaining and settling for uninspiring workplace, we can actually analyze and understand what can we do to make your career more enjoyable, to change some of the aspects of your life. So I don't know why the chat is disconnected. Let me see. I'm not sure if you guys can see the chat. Okay, yes, I can see that. I can see Atsa, hello. Sparky Themes, hello. M Summer, great to see you guys, hello. Okay, so as I just said, it's really important to understand that some of the things are the things that we can control, and we can control our attitude, which is why it's quite important to realize when we arrive to certain circumstances, when we stopped enjoying our jobs. This happens really with a lot of people, and people decide to settle for uninspiring workplace because they fear they won't find anything better, and because they feel that that work needs to be struggle. And this is probably with what I would like to start. Okay, so yes, M Summer, good to know that it's working fine. And Sparky Themes, great. Good to know that you hear me well and see me well. Okay, so proceeding to the first misconception, or first lie, or first, let's say, barrier that we might have, is thinking that work life is a struggle. You know how many people really think that that work is a struggle and working life needs to be a struggle? Somehow this belief is that it's necessary to struggle to be successful in life. It's quite untrue, because who says that really? What makes you think that life has to be difficult for you to achieve success and for you to really enjoy it? Of course, I completely agree with everyone who thinks that hard work pays off, because it's true and there is no doubt about it. But so does smart work. It's not just about hard work, it's also about smart work. So just think about it. Working hard is good, and it's important to put an effort into what you are doing. But when you are not on the verge of a burnout, so let's see, imagine, or you probably experience such a situation as well. You can be busy, you can be extremely busy, your calendar is really packed, yet you constantly add more and more tasks to your to-do list. So it feels like at some point you're actually losing control. And from my learning experience, from what I've learned, it's so easy to get dragged into such lifestyle, into this circle, into this vicious circle where you start doing more and more, and you start putting more and more pressure on yourself, and you start having more and more responsibilities. So somehow you constantly feel on the edge. You don't have to be exhausted to achieve success. You don't have to feel exhausted. Remember, this is one of the things that I think they never really teach us about it. So let me see in here. I just see Uplift joined in. Hello. And TDG, I'm doing smart, hard work. Result was reduced salary. Okay, we're going to discuss that. You see, so it's good that you are bringing up this issue as well. So when I say that we don't need to be exhausted to achieve success, why do I say it? Because I've been one of those people who were completely exhausted and overworked, and I really thought that I needed to feel that way. I really thought that this was the right thing to do, and I really felt that the more pressured we are, the more pressure there is we work more productively, we achieve results, but this is not exactly true. And so when you are relaxed, when you are consistent, when you are disciplined, you can really prioritize and you can complete important tasks quite efficiently without feeling tired, without feeling as frustrated, without so much need to struggle, BTS guy, hi. Sparky themes resonates. Okay, now I see that we are on the same page. This is also one of the things that I would like to remind people. Everybody's perception is different. Of course, this is not to put more pressure on you, not at all. It's not about pressuring you, but it's about, let's say, probably doing a little bit of brainstorming and understanding why do we need to put so much pressure on ourselves? Because we really want successful career, and we think that success is immediately equals stress, pressure, and hard work. Not exactly true. Remember one thing: successful people often go to work to make their dreams a reality. I know that this sounds cheesy, but it's actually true. Because the successful people really don't think about work as a struggle. They don't. I mean, think about a successful person that thinks that going to work and working is a struggle. No, because they don't really think about their work in a negative way. And that's why, for me, it's one of those things that prevents many of us from enjoying our work, and is having this misleading perception of it. Do you agree? Okay, so let me proceed to the misconception number 2, which I also wanted to mention. When we think about the job as something very temporary, I mean, of course, I think every one of us, we had a point in our lives that we just need a temporary job. We just need a job that pays our bills, and we just need to get it over with, and then we go home and enjoy our time, and or we just know that there is a deadline, and we don't want to stay at this job for a long time. So when we think about a job as something temporary, but it turns into years and years of doing something not enjoyable, this I'll stay there for another year mindset, or I'll stay there for another month mindset is a huge misconception. And it's actually something that stops us from enjoying and from actually working a lot more happier. Think about when I said that it happened to me as well, and I think it happened to everybody. We had some temporary jobs, and it's completely normal to have temporary jobs. But a lot of people said this at some point, and the temporary job turned into 3 or 5 years of staying at this temporary job. So you won't change anything for better if you can continue to think this way. So stop really wasting your time on something you don't enjoy. If you already know that the company is not a right career for you, or is not a right place for you to be, just do that change it as soon as possible. Why this temporary job and I'm just here for a while mindset is really bad for you? Because it just it pushes you into a false belief that you are going through a temporary phase, that things will change, but you don't do anything to change them, So unless you actually say, that's it, I know that there is a deadline and I have to move out by the deadline, you might end up spending, 5 years, 10 years in the career that you don't enjoy, and that's a huge stop, and that is something that won't let you enjoy your professional life. And enjoying professional life is not just about like being happily ever after and thinking that everything is going to be perfect at work. No, but it's just going there and not feeling so much pressure and negativity, and it's actually doing something that makes you feel motivated. It's all about that. So the next misconception and the next stop is, for many people, especially for people that I've coached, a lot of people say, okay, listen, I just think that my degree is in this field, so this is my field and this is what I studied, and I can't really change because this is what I've been studying, and this is something that I actually chose, so that I can't change it now. Just because your degree is in math, it doesn't mean that you should suffer a boring to your career, because we know exactly what happens when we decide to choose careers at the beginning. When we do our studies, or when we just start our first job, everything can be completely circumstantial. So it doesn't mean there is no reason for you not to go out there and become, a software designer or a photographer or a social media manager or in any other area where your passion really lies. You'll be surprised, you'd actually be surprised how many hugely successful people didn't really work in the field related to their degree. And many of them didn't even have a degree in the first place. So this is a huge misconception, and this is something that stops you from having an enjoyable career. Another thing which I hear often, another thing which I heard so many times is about, there are no jobs out there right now, so I'm just sticking to this job because there are no jobs. Yes, I know that unemployment is an issue especially in the current situation. It's quite difficult to find a job, maybe finding a job that is really suitable for you. But there are always different options, and this is something also that many people discover after a while, that there are options which we can't really see sometimes. Even going freelance, starting to work as a freelance, there is a huge, especially in the United States right now, over almost 40% of the workforce is actually freelance based. So it's also hugely increasing in other parts of the world as well. In Europe, in some of the European countries, it's also it has increased drastically also after the pandemic. So this is actually something that you could do. You could do something that that is really enjoyable for you, and if you actually organize yourself right, you can do a freelance job and you can earn even more than you've been earning in the company. So this is another thing that you have to consider, that not finding a job is not an excuse. Okay, so the next one is directly related to the economy and directly related to the money aspect. My salary is too good to leave. I've heard this over and over again, and I keep hearing it, that my salary is too good. I just need the money, and I know that this is temporary, but I just can't leave because I have such a good salary. It's actually quite dangerous to believe that it's all about that. You know, of course you become used to a certain income, and your lifestyle, your expenses usually follow that income. So it's a lot harder to consider a lower paying career, and it's a lot harder to consider earning less money. But you remember, money is there right now, but it's not going to be there tomorrow. So you can always adjust some of your expenses. Of course, I'm not speaking about really extreme cases, but you can't really put a value on your life experiences, your life quality, and the time that you will never really get back. So when we are actually wasting our lives on something that doesn't resonate with us, it's these years and this time is gone forever. So it's a lot better, actually, the investment that you do when you do something that you are motivated about is such a huge investment. So try to really forget about the money part for a while, if you can, at least temporarily, and do a brainstorming without considering this aspect for at least for a second. I'm not saying that money is not important. It is, of course, but it also there is also so many. There are also so many aspects, related aspects, which you do not consider when you just focus on the money. Okay, so let me see. I see Obliv. I'd like to work for myself, but I just don't know what sort of business or job I could do. That's also something that you could do a brainstorming about, Obliv. We can try to discuss it during the questions part. And TDG. What about if everybody tells you are great, but your boss doesn't recognize and you start to doubt yourself? This is such a huge classic. TDG. It's basically that what's been happening to so many people that I've spoken to, and many of my videos are about it. So remember, I mean, we can discuss it afterwards, but you will never be able to satisfy a negative manager. If the manager who is telling you this and doesn't recognize anything you do, if this is your situation, if you are actually under such kind of management, there is nothing you can do which will change this person's perception. And so the best thing you can do is really getting out of there as soon as possible. I have some other videos regarding it as well, but we can discuss it later on during the questions time. Hi Marat, what's more important? Is it better to have a job you love or a job that makes you a lot of money? Okay, this is exactly what this topic is about. So stay tuned. I'll be responding to your question in just a bit. Okay, so the next misconception is really about saying that my company needs me too much. I've worked in HR for so many years. I've seen people really believing into this and believing that the company really won't be able to continue without them. The perception that some people have is that they are key players and the company wouldn't be able to go on without them, and that the company really needs them so much that they need to get attached to the company, and that they need this job and they need to continue because this is something that that they've been, I would say, even brainwashed. Some of the companies with all the "we are family" and we need to walk together, all these concepts that many companies really try to put out there for employees to get attached to their jobs. They are made believe that the company wouldn't be able to go on without their input. So let me tell you that this is a huge mistake. The company never needs you too much. They just need you to do a certain job, but you are a person that can easily be replaced. No matter how important your job is, no matter how many hours you're doing, and maybe during certain moment of time, the company will have difficulty while they are looking for another person or while they are planning to promote another person, but the company never really needs you. The company wants you to believe that they need you, but they don't really need you. You can be easily replaced. I mean, tell it to all the people who got fired. Tell it to all the people that gave their hearts and souls. They've put so much passion into their work, and as I said before, extra hours, flights, overworking completely, getting exhausted and doing so many things that just because they thought, okay, this is my family, because the company really values me so much and the company needs me so much that I can't really let it go. Tell it to all those people that got fired after a while, or they just got another boss and they were reduced to somebody completely non-essential in the department, and they're just staying there because they want a steady job, but they don't believe it anymore. This is one of the biggest lies, and I would like to discuss it. If it's something that interests you, I would like to discuss this further, how the company culture really does their best. Many companies, they try to do their best to surround you with a culture that would make you feel like you are part of the family, or they would constantly give you such kind of messages like, you are part of the family, we are family here, we need to work very closely, we all know each other. They do a lot of events that of course, a lot of these things, I mean, if it's team building activities, I find it great, but not the brainwashing part, because after a while you will realize that they are not family. And everybody at work, they are there for professional reasons. So no matter how close you might feel and no matter how attached you might feel to your job, it's not about, you can never make it about not seeing other options and really thinking that the company needs you so much. So let me see what you are saying so far. Adza, okay, Kasim, I lost my job a few days back. I had a clash with a team member that caused the termination. Okay, I'm sorry to hear that, but it's quite frequent. It happens, especially if the team member was more senior or was considered more important by the management. Sparky Themes. I have a side gig that I would love to do, and I have a block on charging enough money for it, and I don't understand the hang up. Okay, so you are doing a side thing and you are already paying money for it, but it's not working out. Am I understanding it correctly? Adil, okay, good to see you. BTS, absolutely true. I believe they want people who are just smart enough to run the machines and do the paperwork, and just dumb enough to passively accept all the increasingly shittier jobs. George Carlin. That makes sense. That does make sense. Okay, so after we after we discussed the company needs me too much apart, and understanding really how easily you can be replaced. No matter how much knowledge you have, how high your work ethics are, you have to realize that you can be replaced, and you can easily be replaced. So don't feel really guilty for wanting to have a career that you don't enjoy just because you think that your company requires your input, and just because you think that the company really needs you. Okay, so then the other misconception and the other thing that might stop you from really being satisfied and happy at work is when you say, I'm not so unhappy. There are so many people that are a lot more unhappy. I'm not as unhappy as others. Okay, let me see. Sparky themes. It works out, but I don't charge enough. I'm capable and very knowledgeable, and I feel I have expertise, but I undercharge. Okay, that's actually something interesting. And that's actually something important. At least you have realized it. You can undercharge for a certain amount of time, but there is always a time where you can switch and actually start charging what you think you should be charging. So that's already a good start. It's something I enjoy, and I have a full-time day job too. Great, then you start working on your plan B, which is great. Can you slowly increase the amount you charge over time? Okay, that's the advice that Obliv is giving, which is very related as well, and that's what I think is important to realize for anyone that goes freelance. For anyone that starts a freelancing job, first you have to think about the strategy. What you would like to achieve? You would like to achieve more clientele, and you would like to make them keep buying from you, or keep asking for your services. So after this is done, the next step is obviously adjusting the amount of money you are charging. Okay, the next misconception and the next stop is when you are saying, I'm not so unhappy as others. So, millions of people constantly compare themselves and say that everyone hates their jobs, and there are really worse careers. There are people that earn less money. There are people that hate their job a lot more than I do. And this is actually a huge lie. And especially, it's not exactly a lie, because this might be true, but this is stopping you from really doing what you really want. And this is actually killing your dreams. And why we are so, why we get really discouraged, and how come we get demotivated? We get demotivated when when we see that our dreams are not going anywhere, that we actually, that we feel a certain disappointment with our career. So these kind of statements, when you say that there are so many other people that hate their jobs and they do even worse, they make sure that your dreams are killed even more. It's a lie, because everybody really dislikes their job. It's at some point. Many people that might dislike their job at some point. But if it's every day, and if it's an everyday matter, if it's something that makes you feel exhausted and makes you feel negative about your job, and constantly being unhappy at work, will slowly drain all of your creativeness and all of your energy. I've already discussed some of these things in my videos, how we slowly become less confident, especially if you are in a toxic workplace, of course. We slowly become less confident, we slowly feel that we have less energy, we have less creativity, and especially if there is somebody who constantly tells you that you are not good enough, you're not doing this right, you are not working enough, or everything that you are doing is wrong. This makes you this makes you go backwards. So this is one of the things that you really need to push away from yourself. The other thing is also, I constantly keep hearing when people say, listen, some of the people that I've coached, and I've coached professionals that really had long careers, they've done very important jobs, and at some point they feel like they arrive to a point where it's complicated to go further and to actually become even more successful in their career, but it's really difficult to stay there on top, and it's actually in a very competitive setting. These kind of people actually start to be pushed out. So when they feel such kind of pressure that the company doesn't really want them anymore, or a management or a CEO, they don't want them anymore, and they arrive at a certain point where they feel, okay, listen, I'm really too old to start in a new company. I'm really too old to start a new career. This is another misconception which really stops you from being successful and from being happy at work. Because if you've put so much effort into a company or into a position, and afterwards you get treated like you are not needed anymore, you just have to find a plan B, or you just have to leave as soon as possible, because your age is a number. Okay, it's not just words and it's not just a cliche, it is the truth. I have so many examples of people that managed to make it after 55, after 60. Instead of thinking about really retiring, they were actually thinking about another career, and they made it, and they are being successful in there. So starting a new career just because, let's say, being afraid of starting a new career because you think you are too old is foolish. Of course, there are difficulties. It's not going to be easy. You will have to put some hard work into your job search, and to readjusting yourself, and into really getting out of your comfort zone. I think that's also one of the words. And so it's more about getting out of your comfort zone rather than being too old. And the same goes to people that say, okay, I've been in this position forever, and this is the only thing that I can do. This is also related to the comfort with what I said about the comfort zone. Let me see. Sparky themes, yeah, it's an emotional blockage, not logical. Exactly. Kasim, how do I explain in an interview if I got terminated in a previous organization? Okay, I'll come back to it. I've already explained it in some of my videos which I've posted, but I would like to give you an answer about it as well. Sparky Themes, you are such an inspiration, Marat. Oh, thank you so much, Sparky Themes. I really appreciate your kindness. And I know you will be able to make it in that freelancing job that you are going for, because you already started, so you're already halfway there. Okay, so let me go back to the part where I was saying, when we think that we can't really do anything else because we don't know how to do it, because we've always done one thing, and so it's hard to switch because it's complicated. Because it's complicated to start something else when you've been doing it for your whole life. So I don't want to leave my comfort zone is more related to that. A lot of people really feel that way because they think they don't have other skills, they don't have other knowledge, but they definitely do. So because especially if you have the skills but you don't want to push yourself to learn, okay, maybe this is not the best example, but honestly, when I was starting I think it's also relevant. When I was starting my YouTube channel, and everybody a lot of people told me that, listen, this could be a complete hobby for you, but are you really willing to start learning about how to edit videos, how to edit the sound, how to work with the lightings, etc., etc., etc.? And I was really thinking about it. Am I willing to do that? Because because it was complicated, and I have to agree that at the beginning, especially if this is something that you have never really done and it's not related to your career and it's not really related to HR or to recruitment, but I thought, okay, listen, this is my passion and I want to share it with people. I want to be able to speak to other people who are going through the same things, or to actually help other people to see other points of view. And I think this is the part where I decided not to kill my passion and really go for it. And eventually you get out of your comfort zone, you start learning step by step on how to do this, how to do that, and you get the results. It's not going to happen overnight, but don't lie to yourself and don't build up excuses, really, because a change or learning something new is never too late, and you really deserve to be happy. It's not about just waiting and see what happens. It's really starting to do something about it, because no matter and I really don't want to put a pressure on you, because the society always puts pressure on us, especially on the type of jobs that we should do or should not do. This is not about it, because sometimes we can really think that this is temporary, and it is temporary, because we just want to do something which earns us money, and we are completely happy outside of our jobs. If we are completely happy outside of our jobs, that's perfect, because you really have something to look forward to and you're really happy in general in your life. So and it can even show in your work, because people who are generally happy in their lives, they are happier at work as well. But when you are not happy at work, because it's the only thing that you do, because not only thing you can do, but it's the only thing you do. You do huge, you do long working hours. You put a huge amount of effort. So, of course you will feel. Of course you will feel that your life is not complete, and that you will feel you will feel unsatisfied and dissatisfied with what you are doing, because I am one of the people that really, I always say there is a room for passion and there is a room for job if you can't make it about both, of course. I think you can have both. Think about, I think even you should have both, because if the passion about your job is also translating into passion about your life and your day-to-day routine, that's the key to a fulfilling life, really. And you have to decide. Don't really let anybody tell you that or the society dictate what you should do and what you should not do, because we are the most aware of what makes us happy, and we are the most aware of what kind of life we want. So don't let anyone dictate you otherwise. And these small misconceptions that I've mentioned, they have a huge influence, and they actually, some of them are the mindset that we got used to and the mentality that we got used to. So it's time to switch it. Just make sure, if you are not happy at your work, if the job is not what makes you happy, make sure you have something else that makes you happy outside of work. But if your job really takes your whole day, then make sure you are happy at that job. I don't know if that makes sense. You should tell me. Okay, I think I'll go ahead and proceed with questions, and let me go ahead and submit your question. Let me go ahead and first reply to the question that Hasim Khan made. How do I explain in an interview if I was terminated in a previous organization? Okay, this is a question that I dedicated a few videos. The important part when you navigate through such question is not be negative about your layoff, about getting fired. Because if you are being negative about it, or if you are avoiding it too much, and if you are circling it around, you will raise a lot more red flags. So be upfront be honest about it, but at the same time, put a positive spin on it. I will link one of the videos that I have, which gives you exact answers to that question for different kind of perspectives and for different kind of situations. But you have a sample answers on how to answer these questions. Okay. Okay, so let me go ahead and see. Okay, let me see. I believe thumbs up button is free, people. Hit that button. That's true. Thank you, Abli, for reminding that. Give it a big thumb up if you are in this moment of really thinking about changing jobs, but you are not really making this step. I think sometimes you need somebody else to tell another voice to tell you this, to be able to actually have this right perception of the current situation. Okay, so let me proceed to the next question. I had the question from Atsa when you said, "Hi Marat, what's more important? Is it better to have a job you love, or is it better to have a job that makes you a lot of money?" Okay, so listen, I think this is one of the things that that I discussed, but let me just give you a straight up answer to that. I think money is really important because we need to pay our bills, and this is the society we live in. Everything is made sure that everything costs money, so that's an important part, of course. And the best would be really to have a balance. And if you can not to quit, if you can really stay at this job for a while you are searching for a job, that's really perfect, because then you would be able to do this transition right. But if you can't, then the first thing that you should do, and the first question that you need to ask yourself really is, why do I need this money? Or why do I need so much money? Or how much money really do I need? Because if you are willing to change your standard of living, if you are willing to get adjusted maybe to less amount of a less amount of money, and you can continue maybe doing something you like in another place, but which will pay you less, just make sure you've thought about it, and just make sure that you've done the right brainstorming about it. If you are willing to do that, then of course go ahead and do that. If you are not, then it's more complicated. Then you have to decide how much longer you are willing to put up with this job before doing this change. And as I said, if you are unhappy at work, but you're making money, make sure that you have something else that makes you happy. I think that should be clear by now. Okay, let me proceed to the next question. My interview lasted 20 minutes. Is it bad? Do you think I will get the job? Okay, this is actually for a lot of job seekers, especially when you do interviews in different companies and you are really actively looking for a job. This is something that constantly, this is on your mind. How much time do I need to be in the interview before being considered successful, really? So just think about it. Usually it's a bad sign. It's a bad sign when the interview lasted for a shorter amount of time from what it was scheduled for. If it was scheduled for 30 minutes and it lasted for 20, then I would say it's a bad sign. But if it's not, if it was a phone interview, or if it was a Skype call and that maybe got interrupted, maybe a hiring manager or recruiter got something else on their agenda last minute, then just be flexible about it. And I think deep down we all know if we were successful or not. So if it's not enough as an answer, then let me know. Okay, let me see the next question. Cleo just asked me, "Hey Marat, my last employer was generally upset at me for not knowing how to do things. I'd only know if I worked for months in the first job, in the first week. This constantly made me doubt myself. Is there a way I could avoid thinking this way about my next job or at my next job?" Okay, this is a good question. You know why it's a good question? Because this actually happened to me as well. Because when I suffered a difficult employer and when I suffered a difficult manager, and constantly those that constantly made you doubt yourself, in a way, this is a traumatic experience that you carry on, because it changes your way of thinking and it changes some of the perceptions that you have of yourself and of your work. And this self-doubt that is planted in you can grow further or can eventually be reduced to nothing. And I would really advise you to work on it and to make sure that it's reduced to nothing, because otherwise it's going to corrode your self-confidence. It's going to make your life a lot harder, because not every position is the same way, not every setting is the same, not every company is the same. So just give them another shot and give them another opportunity. Don't make I know that starting from a blank page is complicated, but starting from a page where you are self-confident is so important. Because think about it, Chilio, I like your username, by the way. Think about it. You are changing jobs, and the next job that you will have, they will hire you for what you bring and for all the qualities that you possess. And if they were not sure about it, or if they didn't see that in you, they would never proceed further with your candidacy. So they believe in you. This means you have to believe in yourself as well. And don't make it all about your previous experience, especially when you had a toxic boss or you've been surrounded by a toxic work environment that made you doubt of yourself as a professional. Because I think this is the most damaging part. Okay, so let me go ahead and Fifi86. I'm tired of being micromanaged for no good reason. I know how that feels. Believe me, Fifi, I know how that feels. You can't really do much about a micromanager. What you can do is changing your attitude towards them. So instead of actually getting all unsettled and feeling unease, you should just accept that this person is going to continue to do that. And you just have to be as open as you can about your work and about what you do, because for you, it's no win situation. Unless you manage to leave, and unless it's maybe your last week that you can just send them to hell and just do whatever you want and just not let them micromanage you. But if it's not that, if this is not the point you are in, then just flow. You should go with the flow and try to get adjusted and try to be as flexible as possible and continue looking for a plan B. Okay? Okay, next question. Let me proceed to the next question. Next question. How do I know if I'm doing a good work at my job? Okay, this is also something that I think something similar. I have been asked something similar for all the people that start at their new jobs and they've spent a short amount of time at their position. It's interesting because you are hired by a manager that hired you, so they've given you a chance and they actually selected you. And if this manager is supportive, go ahead and just be straightforward and just ask them, feedback. Ask them how well you are doing and whether you should work faster, whether you should work better, or whatever else is your boss is willing to tell you. Get that feedback and make your conclusions, because if you this is different when you've been in the company for a long time and you are wondering, am I doing well? Am I doing a good job at my position? And I think if you've been in the company for a lot longer, you already know if you are doing a good job. And maybe you are doing a great job, but if you are constantly receiving criticism, which is not constructive, if you are receiving constructive criticism, that's great. Then you should communicate more often and really listen to that feedback and keep maintaining this positive energy. But if you are not getting constructive criticism, if everything that you hear is negative, then maybe you are doing a good job, but this is not the perception of your manager. So that means maybe you are not exactly in the best moment at your position. Okay. Let me see the next question. How can I tell my new boss? How can I tell my new boss I no longer want to do my coworker's job duty because it's not my job description? Okay, this is actually AbFab. This is a very controversial moment because when you are telling your job that when you are telling your manager that this is not your job, this is your coworker's job, it's already creating conflict, and I wouldn't really advise you to go there. You know why? Because you will not win. You can really tell your manager, you can sit down with your manager, especially if your manager is listening, and try to explain what difficulties you are having in your position. For example, if this side of these extra tasks make your life more complicated at work and you actually can't do your job properly because it's too much work for you, try to handle it in a more diplomatic way with your manager. Try to explain them exactly what is happening and how these tasks affect your performance, and maybe he or she will be able to see your point and actually redistribute these tasks between other team members. Let me know if that was an enough answer, okay? Okay, Zed King. Oh, thank you very much for your generosity, Zed King. And let me see your question. I am employed, but I want to leave because I work in a tough industry. I want a similar work, but in a different industry. When I'm asked, why did you leave? How should I explain it? It is customer service. Okay, this is also something that I've partially covered in some of my videos, but it's interesting that you are actually mentioning where you are working. You know, customer service, I think everybody knows how emotionally draining customer service can be, especially if you've been there for a while, especially if you've been pressured by deadlines, if you've been pressured by projects and you constantly get negative feedback. And in customer service, you know, when you receive that call and when you reply, usually you don't get easy cases to handle when it comes to customer service. So it's constantly solving one problem after others. So if you want to go to a different industry, Zed King, I think you have a perfect answer which you could give. You should definitely tell that you've learned so much in the customer service, that you've been really happy through these years, and you think you've done a great job, but it was time to focus on something else, on something where your passion really lies. And maybe this future job could also be partially about customer service, but it's not maybe as emotionally draining as really constantly solving difficulties and constant negativity coming from the customers because you need to give them constant solutions. I don't know if that was clear. If not, then go ahead and ask me your further question, and I will clear the doubt. AbFab, yes, thank you. You are very welcome, AbFab. Okay, so let me see. Billy is asking, please, how to answer why your resume shows no updates since the pandemic started in March 2020 question. Okay, this is a good question because this means that you haven't updated your resume ever since, and it's really it's really easy to avoid this question or to turn this question into a strength. For example, think about if you haven't worked ever since the pandemic started, you have to tell them what you have done. So what you have done could be many things, but as long as you can mention certain things like, I don't know, learning a new program or starting a hobby or what exactly have you been doing, if you don't mind me asking, Billy, what you have been doing ever since the pandemic started? I think it will be a lot easier for you to respond to this question, because no matter what you have been doing during this time, you can always update your resume with these, I don't know, freelance work, with these courses that you've done, with these studies that you've managed to gain, or whatever else you've been doing. Okay? Let me see, Zed King, thank you. You are very welcome. Jafsir, hello Marat, how do HR or employers view sabbaticals? You know, sabbaticals are not usually viewed positively in certain companies. I will tell you why, because especially if this is a competitive industry which you are going towards, if we're speaking about a competitive industry, they will see it as something negative, because the type of jobs that people have there, they like to call it as a fast-paced environment, which equals to difficult environment, which equals to competitive and with a lot of work politics involved environment. So they want people to be as focused as possible. So sometimes they might view you having a sabbatical leave as something that maybe he's not that committed. Maybe he's not that focused on the job or on a career. So keep that in mind. So if you've done a sabbatical and you want an explanation for it, just go and mention everything you've learned and everything that has been a benefit for you out of this sabbatical leave. If you haven't done it yet, think about it a few times, or at least about the amount of time that you are planning to take a sabbatical for, because it's going to be more difficult for you to justify during, at least with some of the companies. I've always viewed sabbaticals as something hugely enriching, because I think people learning about different cultures and traveling and gaining experiences, depending on what we are speaking as a sabbatical. If it's a sabbatical because of the trip especially, there is so much you can tell about it as strength, as positive aspects. And if it's a sabbatical leave because you had to take care of somebody, of a family member or somebody else, the same. This shows your huge commitment towards your family or somebody else. So just think any sabbatical leave can have a positive explanation. Okay, so let me see. I believe I think is giving an advice. If you can do customer service where you deal with the same customers or business, it can be really good as long as you get to know them and their needs. Absolutely. If you deal with the general public, good luck to you. Yeah, it is complicated. The general public, you will always get dissatisfaction from people if the issue has come to customer service. You really need to be very resistant. I think I don't need to tell it to you, Zed King, because you must be used to that by now if you've been doing this job. Okay, so let me go ahead and continue to the next question. What can I do to have a good interview? What is the most important advice? Okay, so this is also something that I think I've discussed in some of my previous videos. Just think about a job interview as this is not a life or death situation. This is, the hiring managers really, they are humans and they will understand if you are nervous and the minor mistakes that you might make. as long as you feel that you are being natural and you are feeling comfortable during the interview, that's the most important advice that I can give you. And of course, preparing in advance. Preparing in advance will make your interview a lot more successful and for you to come across a lot more natural and confident. Okay, so let me go ahead, and I see that Billy said, thank you, you are very welcome. Jasbir, thanks, you're welcome. Cleo, thanks for your advice, you are welcome. Okay, next question that I have. I watched many of your videos and I realized I'm not happy at work. Is there anyone who is actually happy at work? Okay, I think this was what this stream was about. You know, I think if you are asking me this question, it's because you've already done a first step, and the first step is really identifying that you have a problem. And what is your problem? What is your issue? Your problem or your issue is that you are unhappy at work. So this means that you actually made this exercise and you've actually realized that you are not happy at work. So unfortunately, a lot of people really don't get to this point. They don't get to the point when they realize that they are not happy at work. So the first part is already done. You've acknowledged that you have issues and that you are not satisfied with your job. The next part is really understanding what do you want out of your job? What do you consider happiness at work? Is it acknowledgement from upper management? Is it doing something that is really motivating? What is really wrong with your position as well? What do you think is missing? I think the bottom line is to understand for you what is making you unhappy and what will make you happy before you can really answer to that question and before you can do a change. Because believe me, there are people that are happy at their job and there are people that are happy outside of their job, but they are still happy people. So think about which is the most convenient part for you and what really your unhappiness is about. Okay, so okay guys, I think the last call for any questions. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, please go ahead and let me know. I think we've been going on for an hour already, so I'm really pleased about this stream. And the whole point for this live stream was because I was actually brainstorming with a friend of mine that was completely convinced that you don't have to be happy at work because it's complicated, because that doesn't exist. So the whole thing that originated from that, and I said, okay, listen, I'm actually going to talk about it and see what other people think. And actually it's something that I think depends a lot on our perception, and some of these perceptions are a lie. So I hope this was useful. Let me see. Abliv, love your work, Marat. Okay, thank you so much, Abliv. And I also like your insightful comments. I can tell that you've actually been going through different stages at work and you've experienced different things that a lot of them resonate with my experience as well. So I'm really glad to have your inputs. Okay, so thank you very much, everyone. I really appreciate this hour and 3 minutes with you. Thank you for bearing with me, for your comments and inputs, and I hope to see you next week. Bye. And let me see, just to mention, Abliv, Cleo, Jasbir, Billy, Zed King, Abfab, Fifi, Sparky Themes, Kasim, Adza, M Summer. Wow, there were many of you. See you later.